on pizza. I'm excited that you've decided to tune in and to check it out with us. So the main thing today, the pizza is quite easy to do. The main thing that I want to focus on today is the cashew cheese. Okay, so we're going to be making cashew cheese, and I'm making it because I want to encourage you guys to consider incorporating more plant-based foods in your diet, because eating plant-based is actually really great. So there's a few myths that I want to kind of just address real quick before we go into the actual cooking. And the first myth has to do with the cost factor. So a lot of people happen to think that eating a plant-based diet or being on a plant-based diet can be very expensive. And actually that's not really factual. So when you consider someone who's, let's say, enjoying, meat, when in comparison to a plant-based person who's eating a lot more beans, you're talking cents to dollars, right? When you're purchasing meat and purchasing beans and so forth, which is majority of plant-based eaters, beans are our protein. I'm a plant-based eater. And for those of you who are on for the first time, I don't think I properly introduced myself. My name is Deborah Johnson, and I'm a plant-based nutritionist. I am a community health nutritionist with the Northwest Bronx Food Justice Project, working with RSS. So for those of you who aren't familiar with me. Anyway, so that's the first myth, is that it's very costly, and that's not really true. So, when you're thinking about eating, a lot of processed foods, yes, it's going to be more expensive. But if you buy whole foods, like, a head of lettuce or broccoli, or like I said before, beans, if you're eating that way, then you're going to save actually more. Second myth has to do with protein. A lot of times people think that they're not going to get enough protein, when in fact, no one has ever died from protein deficiency, right? I don't think anybody here has ever heard anyone saying, oh my gosh, I'm protein deficient. Now, older adults do require more protein in their diet. And when you think of a plant-based diet, a lot of people automatically just assume, well, I'm not going to get any more beef, I'm not going to eat any more chicken or any of those things. But in fact, protein, there's a lot of dishes. For example, today we're going to be using mushrooms in our pizza, and that does have protein. We're going to be using cashews that also have protein. So a lot of different foods that we're unaware of actually jam-packed with protein, and so does beans. So that's number two. That's one of the second myth that I wanted to sort of bring up to you guys today. And also, just to encourage you to maybe minimize the amount of red meat, because red meat has been connected to a lot of health issues like heart disease, diabetes, and so forth. So you want to try to incorporate more plants also as your protein for that reason. And the third reason has a lot to do with considering things like nutrients and vitamins and minerals that you're not going to get enough. And, iron is one of the main ones I think that people are concerned with. And we need iron in our blood to help to circulate our blood and to make sure that our blood flows properly. But there's a lot of great foods, a lot of these foods like kale that has iron, and even calcium. Another misconception that you're not going to be able to get calcium. Now, there's a slight issue when it comes to the absorption, which I'm not going to get into that detail right now, but if you need more information on that, I'd be happy to share. But iron and calcium are two of the minerals that people are always nervous that I'm not going to get enough of. But there are lots of food. There's tofu, has calcium can be found in tofu, lots of beans. Nutritional yeast that we're going to be using today have a lot of calcium in it. And this is our cheese. It's going to give our cheese a cheesy factor. And so you can actually find a lot of these minerals. You just have to get a little bit more educated on a plant-based diet. That's what I would say, is when you incorporate more plants, you just have to get a little bit more knowledge so you know what foods are going to provide the nutrients. And so that's one of the other myths that I wanted to address. And the final myth I want to address today is that plant-based eating is bland, it's boring. And that's why we're doing this, because I want to show you that you can actually make a really delicious pizza. I have a 16-year-old, for those of you who might have been on recently, and he enjoys the pizza. He's always asking me on Fridays, like, is it pizza night tonight? So he enjoys this pizza as a kid. And so, kids, they're the best taste testers because they're very honest. So I use that as my gauge, right? All right. So it's not bland. You can incorporate a lot of flavors. I think that's what actually even make, eating a piece of meat taste good, right? So if you have a piece of steak and you just throw it on the grill and you put nothing else on it, I would imagine it's not going to have a pretty good taste. So I recommend just, you know, incorporating a lot of herbs and spices as you do when you're cooking your meats and your chicken and fish and so forth. Incorporate those same spices when you're cooking, you know, your veggies. For example,
okay, when you get a chance, somebody asked that nutritional yeast
yeah,
kind of bothered her stomach. So when you get to that, maybe we can talk about if, you know, if that could be an issue.
yes. So one of the things, and I've heard that before, I'll just go ahead and talk about it quickly now. A lot of people can be, whether it be allergic or just their stomach is not aligned with it. And so I personally would just recommend not having it because it's been found some people are just, their bodies just can't digest it. I'm not really sure all the reasons why, because everybody's biochemistry is different. For me, it's great. It works well with my system. It doesn't reject it. But I have a sort of like a saying. I mean, if your body doesn't want it, it'll tell you. Your body will tell you what it likes and what it doesn't like. And when it's telling you it doesn't like it, the best thing you can do is avoid it, unless it's something that you absolutely need. This is sort of like a help me food, you know, it's an addition. So it's not something that you need to have. So yeah, I'm sorry that it bothers your stomach. I use it in my sauces and so forth, but if it doesn't agree with your stomach, I don't recommend that you continue to have it. So yeah, guys, try to incorporate those herbs and spices. I was just about to share before the question that, you know, I'm from the Caribbean and I used to enjoy curry chicken. So I only went plant-based 4 years ago. And so I used to enjoy curry chicken. And now what I do, I make curry chickpeas. So chickpeas is high in protein. So I'm getting my protein, right? But I'm also getting the same flavors that I'm used to. I'm getting the curry that I like to have, you know? So if you incorporate certain, you know, certain herbs and spices, you're still going to have sort of like, you're still going to get your culture. You're still going to get the taste that you enjoy. All right. So with that being said, and if there's no more questions before I go on, I'm going to be making today, like I said, a plant-based pizza, and we're going to be doing our own cheese. I think we have plenty of time to get this all done, so we shouldn't have any concern there. So the first things first, and I have my recipe here. So someone said there are so many curries.
I wanted to know what's your favorite curry?
My favorite curry? Honestly, I don't really have a favorite. I don't. I go to the Bronx, so I live in the Bronx. I go on the other side of the Bronx and I'll pick up from like a Jamaican curry. That's about it. You know, I don't have a brand or anything like that. And I even have some from Whole Foods. So it just, you know, I don't really have a favorite. All right, guys. So for our recipe today, we're going to be doing the cashew cheese. I'm just going to go over, and Barbara, if you want to throw that up, we're going to be putting in, thank you, Barbara. We're going to be putting in the,
put up the recipe?
Sorry,
when did you want me to put up the recipe?
Oh yeah, if you want to put up the recipe, that'd be great.
Okay, I will share that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. So guys, today we have a lot of great ingredients that we're going to be incorporating in our cashew cheese. We're going to do that first. So here I have raw cashews, and I basically soaked my cashews overnight to really soften them, and that's really important. But sometimes you don't have the time to soak it overnight. Ideally, I would say do it overnight, but if not, 2 hours is good. And even 5 minutes if you use hot water. So that's the trick, right? If you don't have any time, but you want to make some cashew cheese, just soak it in hot water, boil your water, pour it on there for 5 minutes and let it sit, and you'll have pretty much the same consistency. But I feel like I've done it both ways and I can't really tell the difference, especially because of all the herbs and stuff that I put in there. So first you want to get your cheese, right? I'm sorry, your cashews. So here we have a cup of cashews, and they've gotten a little bit larger. I'm going to try to bring it up to the screen. They've got, you know, they've swelled a bit. So you can't really see because the lighting is a little bit off, but they swelled a bit. And so that's what we have here. We also have our nutritional yeast, and we're going to go ahead with a dry spoon. Oh, this is fine. I'll just clean it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put 2 tablespoons, and I'll be honest, guys. So what ends up happening is, because I love that cheesy flavor, I end up putting a lot more than 2 to 3 tablespoons. But today we're gonna see, because I like to cook and taste, and then see how it goes. All right, so let's start with 2.5. Okay, next we're gonna be putting in 2 fresh squeezed, so lemon. All right, I'm gonna 2 tablespoons of that. So just fresh squeezed.
Okay, is it okay if I was asked to put up the directions again? Do you want me to do it now, or while you're talking, just put it
You know
up?
what, wait a second, I'm sorry. You know, we're going to send everyone the recipe and the link to the video that we're creating, so you don't have to try and write it down right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you can watch on if it's better. Depends on. So that's 1 tablespoon. Oops. All right, so there you go. 2 tablespoons of lemon. All right, next we're going to put our garlic. All right, so the more garlic, obviously, if you love garlic, go to
The
town.
question was, were the cashews drained beforehand or soaked and drained?
Yeah. Oh yes. So once you soak them, you want to drain off the water that you soak them in, and we're going to use, fresh water. So you're not going to use the same water that it was soaked in. Okay. Now I'm putting in my garlic. Once again, guys, with garlic, it's prebiotic, so it's great for antibacterial inflammation in the body. So you can use as much of that as you like, if you like things to be garlicky. All right, so that's our garlic. Let's go ahead and put our cilantro and parsley in next. So we're just gonna do about 4 sprigs, or I think it's, 4 sprigs of parsley, 8 sprigs of cilantro. Obviously, if you prefer, this is just to make a nice herb flavor, right? So if you want to add different herbs, you can do that and experiment. And that's what I do in the kitchen. I always encourage people to do that. Don't be limited by a recipe, right? You can experiment and do what you like. All right, so we're putting stems and everything. I'm just cutting them just a bit. All of that's gonna go in our NutriBullet. Obviously, if you have a blender, guys, use a blender. Okay, so parsley, cilantro, great for blood sugar, reducing blood sugar. A lot of great health benefits, good for brain health, cilantro. And also what I like about cilantro and parsley, they actually help to clear some of the heavy metals in our bodies. So I usually use that all the time, and I put them raw in my salads. But this is another great way to also get that. Next on our list is we're gonna put a little bit of salt. Now, at this juncture, I'm not going to put too much salt.
Real fast, I have a question here. Can you explain the soaking process? For the cashews, overnight or a couple hours?
The question is?
Can you explain the soaking process for the cashews a bit more? Did you soak them overnight or for a couple hours?
Yeah, so for me, I soak them overnight. Generally, I was saying before, if you don't have enough time, 2 hours is generally okay as well, right? The softer they get, the better your cheese. So that's why I do overnight. But also for emergency, if you just want to hurry up and get your cheese done, you can boil hot water and soak them as well for about 5 to 10 minutes. And it'll give you obviously the shorter the time, the less you're going to get that cheesy flavor, and it'll still be there. To be honest with you, I really, like I said before, I cannot really tell the difference because of all the herbs and spices that I use. So I could say, it could go either way, but I did mine overnight. All right. So I hope that answers the question. All right, guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, let's keep going. So here we're going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. All right. And some black pepper. And what we're going to be doing is tasting this after, so we'll know if we need to add any more salt, okay? And just a bit of pepper, how much ever you like, all right? So not too much. All right, that's good enough for me. Let's see what else. All right, so now what we're going to be doing is it's all ready to go, except we want to put a bit of water in there. And this is where the trial and error part, we have 1/4 cup. We're going to start with that. Okay, and you want this to kind of have a bit of a hummusy kind of consistency. And that depends on the amount of water that you're gonna put in. So now before I start to blend, I'm just gonna move some of this out of the way just so we can have space to bring our NutriBullet forward. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and blend. You're gonna hear a little noise. All right, so that's it, guys. I think we have the perfect consistency, but we have to make sure the flavor is there. So I'm going to...
Where do you buy your pizza dough is the question I have.
Oh, my pizza dough, it varies. So I do different pizza doughs. I really do it based on convenience. So if I'm at Whole Foods, they have this long pizza dough. I forgot the name of it right now. It's in the video, the other video that I made. I think I shared the name of it in that one. For today, I ran down to the supermarket locally here, and I just found a flatbread. And this is wholesome whole wheat. All right, so it really depends, guys. You can use whatever dough you like. There are people who actually make their dough. Sometimes I do that, but I really haven't had a chance to do that in a very, very long time. But it's really up to you. You can get any type of dough that you want to use or any type of bread. This is going to be what we're going to be putting our sauce on and our ingredients shortly. And it's like a personal pizza that you're making. That's what we're basically doing here today. So it's your choice. What works for you, what's convenient. All right, so let's go ahead and taste this. I'll let you guys know what I think.
One quick question. What make of blender do you use?
So this blender,
yeah.
So I have a Cuisinart blender. That's what I use sometimes, but for today, I'm using NutriBullet. So
NutriBullet?
Yeah, for today, this is a NutriBullet.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So guys, I just tasted it and it's really delicious. I'm not surprised, but so at this point, you can decide if you want to put more nutritional yeast for cheesiness. For me, I think it's perfect. I'm not going to put anything else in it. The salt was just right. Everything was just right, in my opinion. So we're going to leave it there. Let me just get this out of the way. So now, guys, what you would want to do, I have jars like these that I keep, and I also recycle. So I have a lot of different jar sizes. So it'll probably fit in about a jar size like this, the amount that I just made. All right, so you want to just have a jar. You can keep this in the refrigerator. I would say 7 days, and it'll keep really well. All right. So, but we're not going to do that right now. I'm just taking it out just to give you that example. Right now, what we're going to do is move into the next section, which is to start to dress our pizza. All right, so our cheese is done. We're happy with the taste, okay? I really wish you guys were here. Hopefully later on when things reopen, you guys will be able to take a class with me in person. I think that would be a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to go.
The question is, if you cannot eat the yeast, how would you substitute that?
Let me think about that. Yeah, I'm not sure at this time. Let me think about that some more. I'll get back to you on that. Yeah, I don't have a substitute for that right now. Sorry. All right, guys. So we have here our bread. We just briefly discussed our dough, whatever you want to call it, right? So this is a personal pizza that I'm making here today. This will be for my lunch when we're done. Yeah, it's lunchtime. All right, so earlier, before you guys all came online, I went ahead and got a little jump start because my stove is on the other side, so I figured it would just be easier if I got this part done. So what I did was I went ahead and I did my mushrooms. I'm gonna put it up to the camera so you can see. So these are my mushrooms. I like close-ups. So that's why I did that for you guys. So my mushroom is the oyster mushroom. All right, and I encourage you to experiment with mushrooms. And again, if you're on a plant-based diet and you want to enjoy a variety of food and the texture. So texture is a really important, right? So for me, 4 years ago, when I switched to a plant-based diet, I didn't really know a lot about mushrooms. And so I was missing the texture of chicken. I was missing the texture of meat. And so now, honestly, it's like far-fetched because I found mushrooms. Now there's so many different types of mushrooms, guys. I mean, insane amount, right? Now I can't always find all the type of mushrooms that exist, but I usually find I would say about 4 or 5 really excellent mushrooms. And I do different things with them. I recently made vegan crab cakes, another thing that I used to enjoy. Anyway, so this is the oyster mushroom. I wanted to save a piece to show you guys. I'll try to bring it up closer so you can see. All right. So that is the mushroom. And I basically I did it really simple. So you can put them in the oven and just put them on a piece of parchment paper, turn the heat up, put whatever you like. So for me, on this particular recipe that I did, I made it very simple. All I did was I put a little bit of toasted sesame oil and salt and pepper. That's it. So it's very simple. So it's gonna have a little bit of flavor from the toasted sesame oil, but the mushroom itself already has a really nice flavor to it. So this would be sort of like your chicken, right? So you could have like a grilled chicken pizza, and that's what the texture of this would really mimic the texture of chicken. And again, the flavor, if you wanted it to be, you know, whatever flavor you want it to have, you just add that. So for the sake of the recipe, if you notice, I just said a handful of mushrooms cut up. So you could do portobello mushrooms, right? That's another really great one. And I usually, if I do portobello mushrooms, I'll saute that with some onions. And that's also really great on pizza. So for this one, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start putting everything together. So, but I wanted to talk to you about mushrooms because a lot of people just happen to think that, you know, there's only one type, and there's so many different types of mushrooms that you can purchase and enjoy. All right. So for our ingredients for our pizza, we have the pizza dough, which we have here, tomato sauce, red onions, some more garlic, because we just love garlic, some sun-dried tomatoes, Kalamata olives, and mushrooms, and my basil, which I have my basil tree right here. Let's bring that into the photo, the picture here. And then our cashew cheese. All right, guys. So why don't we go ahead and start? Actually, before we do anything else, I need to get my sun-dried tomatoes. So guys, for this recipe, I actually just got the sun-dried tomatoes in extra virgin olive oil. You can find them bottled in the store. Otherwise, you can get them at a salad bar. So some salad bars, you know, with Corona, a lot of the salad bars close for safety reasons, which I totally agree. That it should be closed. So you might not be able to find it at a salad bar. So that's why I just got the bottled option for the sun-dried tomatoes. Now it can come in olive oil or not in olive oil, it's up to you. Also the pitted olives, right? So the pitted Kalamata olives I found at the store as well. All right, guys.
So, and Leslie was saying it's a great idea to saute the mushrooms in flavored oils such as sesame. So she also has walnut oil in her pantry she could try.
I've never had walnut oil. I might have to look into that. Leslie, right? Is Leslie who said that? Yeah, I might have to look into that. All right, so before we put our sauce on our pizza, I'm just gonna grab a few olives. So again, this is a personal pie, so it's not gonna be a lot added. I'm just going to take a few olives out. And quite honestly, my hands are clean, so I'm just gonna go grab, let's just do 4 olives. Again, guys, 5. Your preference based on how much you really want in there. All right, so for the sun-dried tomatoes, I love sun-dried tomatoes, so I'm gonna be putting in 3 pieces. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna be cutting these up into smaller pieces, that's all. So do you guys make your own So has anybody ever tried making their own pizza at home? Or anyone?
What do you think about the vegan pizza that you can buy like in the store? Because I've gotten that a few times where I guess they use some sort of, I think it's Dahlia or something like that, that has D-A-Y-L-A or D-A-Y-I-A. They
Oh,
have
that's
vegan pizza.
you're talking diet cheese?
Yes.
Diet cheese pizza?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean those are okay. So diet is a cheese that every now and then I've tried using their cheese. I'll be honest, the cheese that I enjoy is a Violife or Violife cheese that I find at Whole Foods. Diet is another great brand. I just think the flavor for me, I don't enjoy as much. I've never tried the diet pizza, so I couldn't really say. However, when it comes to the processing of those processed, any plant-based processed foods, as much as I would say you can enjoy eating plant-based, I don't recommend that anyone consume too much of any processed food. So whether it's a plant-based processed food, I always tell people it's better that you prepare it at home. But just to try and to transition if someone's transitioning, those are great options. And I can't speak on the taste because I've never tried that specific brand of processed pizza. But it's certainly a good option, I think, for people to just try.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's keep going. So everything's pretty much ready. We're going to just be putting our pizza together, and we'll have a few minutes. So while I put this in the oven, we'll have about 10 minutes or so. And you can ask more questions at that time while we wait on our pizza to cook. All right, so I'm going to be putting in on about 3 tablespoons. That's 1. Let's spread it first and see what we do. Hopefully you can see. So I wouldn't recommend putting too much sauce, right? Because you're going to run into an issue where the bread is a little bit soggy if you put like a ton of sauce on it. So 3 tablespoons on a size like this, I think is more than enough. All right, so you just go ahead and you just spread it all around. Okay, and that's pretty good. Now, when it comes to the tomato sauce of choice, guys, I want to recommend that you try, especially if you have any health issues, to look at the ingredients label. Always read your ingredients label, but have a look for sugar, because a lot of the tomato sauces have sugar in them. So you want to look out for that. All right, look for the tomato sauce that does not have any sugar. All right, so for the sake of this, we're gonna now introduce our yummy cashew cheese. So what you can do with this, obviously, guys, if you like a lot of cheese and you tasted the cheese and you think it's amazing, you can just slather it all over. For me, I'm going to put it a handsome or healthy amount on my pizza. Because this is really, the focus is really on the cheese, but then the mushroom's gonna come in. I mean, it's just gonna be, it's a complete meal, guys. You know, this is a complete meal right here. All right, so now my cheese is spread. Now, you don't have to actually spread it. You can just have it, you can just dot it all the way around if you prefer. Again, have fun, do what you want. It's your meal. All right, now I'm gonna put on my onions. So these are just red onions. And I love onions, so I'm putting a lot. Up to you how much you like. And my garlic, again, more garlic. So I'm just gonna drop some more garlic on here. And this is why I say plant-based eating is not boring, because you can just have so much fun making all these delicious meals.
Okay, Deborah, Leslie was asking, hold on a second, I don't know. Oh, I'm going in the wrong direction to look for it. She wanted to know if that was processed tomato sauce. She uses thin sliced onions instead. tomatoes. Yeah.
I use tomato sauce.
Right, you use the processed, the canned, jars of tomato sauce. That's what.
Oh yeah, a jar. Yeah. So for me, I'm not concerned about too much sugar in my, although I do try to buy the one without sugar. This one is just, it just happens to be a brand that I like. And I'm not promoting, guys. I love, someone years ago took me to this restaurant, Rayos in Manhattan. And evidently you have to like own seats there or something. I don't really know. But anyway, I enjoyed the food there at the time, and I found out that they made tomato sauce. And you can find this at Stu Leonard's, regular supermarkets, Whole Foods, anywhere. So this is the one I happen to like, and this is the tomato basil one. So that's what I tend to get every now and then if I'm making vegan lasagna. I'm not making those meals all the time. So that's why I also like to just get the brand I like. But I mentioned the no sugar because folks who have health issues should be aware. And even if you don't, and you just want to be careful, you should be aware that they put sugar in tomato sauce. They put sugar in everything. So nowadays, at least, right? There's so much sugar, and it's too much sugar. One thing that I want to mention to you as well, while we're on the sugar topic, I read this study that said 20 years ago, each person was consuming about 22 pounds of sugar every year on an annual basis. When they added it up, when they did the math, it was about 22 pounds of sugar per year. Now, 2020, current year, it's about 176, 180 pounds of sugar per person per year. And that's really because it's being, they're sneaking it into all these different foods. You know what I mean? And we're not really aware that it's in all our spices and our sauces and a lot of these things that we just pick up, processed foods, cereals, and all these things. It's included, tomato sauces. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. All right. All right. Now let's put our olives and our sun-dried tomatoes. And again, guys, you spread this out. The olives are a little bit salty. And we didn't use that much because now we're going to be putting on our delicious mushrooms. So guys, with the mushrooms, I'm not going to use all. I'm going to actually cut them a bit. So I'm just going to make smaller pieces and put them all on my pizza. Maybe I'll end up using all. All right, so we're pretty much done here. I'm going to be putting on the basil at the end. So if you could just excuse me for a second, I'm going to go ahead and put this in my oven so you won't see me for a second. So within that second, you can start thinking of your questions. If you have any more questions, we can address them. Otherwise, we really would just be sitting here waiting on the pizza to cook so you can see the end results. All right, so excuse me for a second. All right, so I'm back. I basically just put that in the oven. I have a timer, so we're gonna wait for that to go off, but I'll check on it, maybe about 5-6 minutes in just to see how it's doing. So in the meantime, I don't know if you guys have any questions for me. Could be related to this, could be unrelated. I'm happy to take your questions.
All right. Don't forget to unmute yourself if you have a question.
Yes, I'd love to hear your voices.
Okay, Deborah, may I ask you about your pizza dough? I do confess, I stepped away from your lesson for a minute to get my laundry out of the dryer, and I came right back. So I missed the blending of the cheese. But did I also miss your instruction about the pizza dough? It looks like it's like a disc of a pizza dough that you lightly pre-baked before you loaded with the toppings.
Yes, so I wish I made that dough. I did not.
No. You don't have to wish that. That's okay.
So this is a store-bought dough. This is just flatbread, actually.
Flatbread. Yes.
Yeah, flatbread. I'll bring this close to the screen so you can have a
Right.
look. Yeah,
Right.
that's all that this is, guys. Just a
Yes.
whole wheat as well, and that's just my personal preference. I do recommend, if you can, get whole wheat or whole grains, better option than
Yes.
the actual white bread. But there's a lot of great pizza dough options. So there's one that I did recently, a video with a multi-grain. I wish I remember the name of it, but it's sold at Whole Foods. The nice long, specific for pizza. And so if you're having family over, it's really nice to get those two. There's 2 in a packet for $5, and they're large. You can't see my hand, but it's really large. And you just we have ours. You just cut that out once you. It's a great snack, and a great meal as well. So you just
Right. But
yeah. So I'll get the name and I'll get the name and I'll share it with you the optimal pizza dough that I recommend if you're going to be making it, if you're going to be store buying it. Otherwise, if you can make your own dough, I mean, that's fun. It's a lot of work. I think that's also an option. Yeah.
Sure. Of course, if you're making your own cheese already, my gosh, I mean, you could make your own marinara sauce. You could make your own dough. I mean, we could do all those things, but you're telling us how to make cashew cheese, which is awesome.
Yes.
And I just was curious about your dough. But if you do choose to make your own dough, you should pre-bake it lightly before you don't want to put all those toppings on a wet dough, do you?
Oh, exactly. No, most definitely not. Because the dough is not, for example, with most of these ingredients that we use, they're already pretty much ready to eat. We're just somewhat warming it up. The cheese is good to eat just as is, because this cheese, for example, you can enjoy it with crackers, or, this is a cheese I also use when I make my vegan lasagna. So you can use this cheese so many different things, right? But the flavor is so good that you don't actually have to even heat it up for it to taste good. Raw onions are delicious. I like raw garlic. I don't think a lot of people do. But I enjoy that in my salad dressings and so forth. So ingredients you can have raw. So we're really just trying to kind of, put it all together with the sauce and everything, and improve the flavor just slightly.
Yes, sure. So warm it up.
Oh, you have to sort of like you said, warm it, cook it before you put on any of this topping.
Yes. There was another question. What kind of pan did you use?
What kind of
pan did you use to bake the pizza on?
I honestly just have it on a tray in my stovetop. So if I'm doing a large pizza in my oven, those long breads that I told you about, I have some basic pans that I use for baking. I don't remember the name of them, but I just put them on top of that with on parchment paper, or you don't even need the parchment paper. But for right now, it's literally just on like a tray that has not a tray, the grill. I think that's what it's called. So it's on a stovetop, quick and easy. If you're cooking for yourself and your husband or your mate or whomever, this is easier than putting everything in the oven. You know what I mean? If you're making a lot of pizza, then of course use the big oven. But for this sake, we're just using a stovetop.
So there's another question. It says, all the ingredients look great. Just wondering if you have other suggestions of ingredients that also work well as toppings, so you can change things up a bit.
I mean, the sky is the limit. So again, it's the things that you enjoy, that you like. These are ingredients that I enjoy. Arugula is also really great on pizza. Some people enjoy putting some fresh pineapple on pizza, fresh tomato, like really nice. So with this, for example, this cheese that we just did tonight, the farmer's market usually has some really nice beefsteak. So you can just take those beefsteak tomatoes, and with the cheese, keep it very simple. Just slice some tomatoes, little sauce, slice some tomatoes, and put that on your cheese with a little bit of basil. Very simple. what else have I done? Broccoli. I enjoy putting broccoli on pizza as well. And it's lightly cooked. So I don't cook the broccoli first. I'll just have, you know, a bit of broccoli cut up and put on. I also do sauteed peppers on pizza as well. So you can saute peppers with a lot of onions. And that's another great option for pizzas. I mean, again, the sky's the limit. You know what I mean? You just should just know the things that burn. So like arugula would be like fresh on the top. Basil, fresh on the top. A lot of these other things you can put on and put in the oven to cook just a little bit longer. But I would say go with what you like. That's what I would. Yeah.
So, and then Leslie also put in here, I guess, or two people asking about pizza stones. Do you need the pizza stone? Would it be helpful?
Yeah, I mean, if you have it, yeah, but I you know, less is more in my mind, really. If you have it and you're able to use it, go ahead, but I don't have one. So you said a pizza stone or a pizza stove?
Pizza stone, you know, sometimes they have these flat, I've seen them where it's actually like a pan made out of a stone, and you can use that to cook the pizza on. So I guess it cooks differently. I'm not sure. I have one. I'm not quite sure how to, you know, I haven't used it a whole lot. So maybe now's the time for me to do it.
Yeah. I think maybe that's for more of the flavor, I would say. I'm going to look into that myself, actually. I'm not familiar. I've never used one,
Yeah.
but I always like to learn new things. So thanks for
Yeah.
sharing.
Also heat it up differently, maybe,
Yeah.
you know,
It-
have a different.
It's right. It is kind of a cheat if you don't have a brick-fired oven in your apartment. You know, like all these great pizza places in New York City. We
Yeah.
don't have a brick oven at home, so
Right.
the stone is kind of a cheater way to get that crust and retain that high heat. And it seems to be most important if you're starting with a wet dough. And that you're baking your own dough and you want to get a crispy crust. But if you're starting with flatbread, it doesn't seem to me that it's necessary.
Right. I agree with that. Just based on what it sounds like it's used for. I agree with that. Great knowledge. I like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So another question is, if you can't eat the nutritional yeast, could you use Daiya cheese substitute or some other alternative cheese to get a cheesy taste?
Not with this kind of, for me, not with this kind of recipe, because the nutritional yeast is dry. The diet cheese, I don't know if they have a version of something that's going to be cheesy. That's something I really would have to get back to you on. I'm not sure, and I hate to give an answer that's just an answer for an answer's sake. So I would need to look into that some more. And get back.
You have a couple more comments here on the pizza stone. Mary Platt says that a pizza stone put in the oven when you turn the oven on will make the crust crisper on the bottom. And Roberta Horowitz mentioned that there's also a pizza pan that's round with holes throughout.
Yes.
So these are different ways to cook it. So it's. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Black little holes, and so ventilate on the bottom while it won't burn.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. That's nice. I'll have to get into, if I was making pizzas more often, I probably would have all those things. But it sounds good. I like the idea of the one with the holes, but also the pizza stone. I don't know, pizza stone. I don't know how much that would cost. It sounds like it might be a little costly. Do you guys know anything about the price of the pizza stone?
No, I'll take a quick look.
Oh, okay.
I don't think pizza stones cost that much, because I once gave it as a housewarming and it wasn't expensive. But what's good about that is you put it in the oven first and you preheat it. So it's hot. And then you put it on back into the oven. That's what I understand. Yeah,
that's good. That's a good way to get the bottom and the top, you know, sort of to get that crispiness. Like you said, the New York, I think that's like a New York thing too, right? We like our pizza a certain way. So it could just be preference as well. Yeah.
It looks like they start here. Well, there's one cast iron. I saw a pizza stone start around 25.
Okay. And what size is that? Is that like?
You know, that I didn't see. I mean, I'm looking quickly.
Okay.
You can get it on sale though. You go with percentages off.
Probably at Amazon, right? it with
Even
a
Amazon, even Bed Bath and Beyond has always 20% off, and you know, this kind of stuff,
Right.
especially now online.
okay.
Another question from Leslie. Have you already addressed the question about how cashew cheese doesn't really melt like mozzarella does? Does the cashew cheese brown or crisp around the edges?
Very slightly. I don't find that it's, you'd have to do more to it for it to start to melt. I haven't, yeah, I mean, it just gets slightly brown. I wouldn't say that it's like even crispy. So yeah, I hope that helps. Hope that answers your question, Leslie.
Yeah. Yes, I was just wondering what to look for. You know, for mozzarella cheese, I know how brown I like mine to have little brown polka dots on it. And that's part of how I know when it's done to my liking.
Oh,
But with cashew cheese, I'm just wondering what your guidelines are for appearance when you know it's done.
So I think as far as, you know, again, because it's when you make the cheese, so for my own personal opinion, you know, I'm not a chef, let's put that out there. You know, I enjoy the flavor as it is, right? So for me, I'm literally just warming it up.
Got it.
That are ding. So I'm really just warming it up. I'm not necessarily expecting to see a particular color. So even if it's not brown, it's done in my mind,
Okay.
right? So all I wanted to do is just to warm it up and to still have some type of consistency of a cheese on the pizza. So that's the purpose for me of why I do that. Sure. Obviously,
Okay.
it can never be compared to like mozzarella and all that stuff. But for me, flavor is great. I love the nutritional profile of just incorporating all these great ingredients. And that's sort of the focus as well, because I'm a nutritionist. So I'm always thinking not just about flavor, I'm thinking also about, and I care a lot about flavor, but I'm also thinking a lot about the health benefit. What is it going to be doing for my health? And so I eat that way. And I encourage you all to eat that way. And that's workshops, is to really encourage you to eat a certain way, that you're not just, you know, all about the flavor. Because if it's just based on flavor, I still would be eating oxtails and fried chicken and all the stuff that I love. So, but I'm really concerned about being healthy. I'm concerned about you being healthy. And I want to give you great options that you can, you know, really reach for, you know. And I did the cheese because I really think a lot of people do think and do believe that, you know, pizza without cheese is not really pizza. So I want to show you, yeah, you can also do this without the cheese, but I wanted to give you a cheese option so you can really sort of like, don't feel like you're missing anything, and address that one of the myths that I mentioned, that plant-based eating is bland and boring, right? So I hope that I addressed it, you know.
Sure.
Okay. By the way, Mary Platt looked it up, and she said Nordic ware from Amazon, $12.
Hey, okay, I might have to get that.
You need a bigger kitchen.
Yeah, right? So true. I'm gonna go grab my pizza. I don't know if you guys heard the ding, so give me a second. I'll be right back.
Question. I would like to ask a question.
I would like to ask a question.
Okay, I'll be right back. So let me just address. So remember I told you just before, someone was asking, and of course I've got my my handy dandy here. Someone was asking about, okay, it's good now. It's not too high. Someone was asking about what I use. So this is basically what I use. I'm gonna bring that up nice and close for you guys so you can get in there.
Slice. Give me a slice.
I think you guys could have some. Oh my God. All right. Question?
That's a question. Say it.
I would like to ask a question.
Yes.
Well, what about using the ingredients that you make biscuits for the base of the dish that we are making here? Just take the biscuit dough ingredients and roll it out real thin, and wouldn't that suffice?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I love that you said that, because I want to encourage people to do things like that, experiment, try, and see.
Mhm.
Obviously, you have to know how long the biscuit can take the heat, right? So you just have to look at that before it's, because biscuit, depending on what type of biscuit it is, it can get burned really fast.
Yes,
So
that's why I said roll it out thin.
yeah,
Yes.
just be aware of how quickly it can burn.
Mhm.
You gauge it with your oven, right? So you don't have to turn the oven up too high either, right? So it doesn't burn. But that's a great idea. That's a great idea. The sky's the limit when it comes to the kitchen. I have no rules other than eat enjoyable, healthy food. That's it.
Yes.
So guys, we are done. You saw the pizza. I think I brought it up close. Now we're going to, let me bring it up just a little bit closer. So I think Leslie was asking about the color. I'm going to try to see if you can see the cheese. Hopefully you can see a little bit the color of the cheese. Is that good? Can you tell? Are you able to see the color of the cheese a bit better here?
It looks like it has it's turned slightly lighter brown. It's hard to tell with the color, but I think it looks like it browned a little bit.
Yeah, it did.
Yes.
That's what I was hoping you'd see. Very, very lightly brown. And it just melded nicely with the sauce, right? Again, hopefully in person at some point, guys, and you'll be able, we'll make this again so you can try it. Right now, I'm just gonna cut. I'm gonna have a tiny piece while you are here. I don't know if there's any more questions. We're pretty much done here. I'm just going to try it and give you the verdict. It might still be a little bit hot. But yeah, again, a great replacement for those folks who might enjoy pepperoni pizza or grilled chicken pizza. I think the mushroom option is really amazing. I want to encourage you to try the mushroom experiment. And I think Barbara mentioned that we're going to be sharing the link. So if you came on late, I did go over some of the benefits of enjoying a plant-based diet or eating plant-based. Obviously, not everyone's looking to switch, but I want to encourage you to incorporate more plants when you're eating your meals, all right? And this is one great way, one fun way that you can do that. And also involve your kids. So if you have children who might, who might want to try something that's plant-based, it's a great way to kind of help to introduce that to them, would be with a dish like this, right? So I'm going to take a little bite. I'm not going to take too much. Mm. It's really good. You have to just take my word for it, guys. Actually, don't take my word for it. Make it for yourself. All right, Barbara, you have the recipe.
I'll make sure to send it out, get it to that, to share that with Margie, and we'll get it out to everybody so they have a copy of it.
It looks yummy.
It's very
Thank
good.
you.
It's absolutely delicious. All the flavors are just really nice. The cheese is really the highlight, I have to say. Really phenomenal. So I hope you all enjoyed this session, this workshop with me and myself and Barbara. Looking forward to next month. I'm not sure what we're gonna do next month, but just keep a lookout. We'll share very shortly what we'll be doing next month. But thanks for watching, and please make this pizza. Let me know what you think if you guys do make it. I would love to hear the verdict.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
we can meet you in person at the food distribution on Fridays, right?
I'll be there, yes. So this Friday will be my first, because we switched from Wednesdays, so now I'll be there on Friday. Sometimes I get there a little earlier than 11, but if you want to see me, come at 11. I'll be out there. So
Okay. I hope to meet you. Hope to meet you soon.
likewise.
Okay.
Like
Is that at St. Stephen's Church?
St. Stephen's, yes.
Okay. So that's a part of the project with the Northwest Bronx Food Justice Project, right?
Yes. So we have a couple of, so Anthony, who's out there on Fridays and Mondays, actually, distributing food to the community. And I'm in essence the nutritionist that basically has a there and I interact with community members. And the goal of that is really to educate folks. We have flyers as well that I've created, infographics with health information. I also bring some recipes as well and recipe books, things like that. Excuse me, just have a bit of water here. But the goal is just to interact with the community, to share nutrition information, especially during this COVID season. The goal was to really just help educate people a bit more on, you know, what they can do to improve health and just stay healthy during this difficult time. So, but yeah, I'll be normally across the street from St. Stephen's at a table. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank
my
you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Barbara, I'm looking forward to getting the link. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll make sure to get, I'll make sure to get that out as quickly as possible.
Thank
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you
welcome
all
so
for
much.
coming.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're just so
Thank
wonderful.
you.
And so much information. You convey it so enthusiastically. I love it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
pleasure. I love what I do.
It's very
Are you
exciting.
enjoying the cookbooks?
Huh?
Were they helpful, the cookbooks?
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, yes. So one of my favorite cookbooks, it's funny because I took one out at the table and this gentleman was trying to he actually wanted it, and it's the one I really part ways with. So I offered him one of the others because this one of the cookbooks you gave me was an old magazine from the 80s, and I just love it. I need to keep this in my archives. So thank you so much.
Okay, that's good. I'm
Pretty
glad.
funny.
Yeah, no, but it was
That's great.
a nice gift. Thank you so much. I appreciate
You're
it.
Okay.
welcome. I'm glad.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Day.
Bye-bye.
All right.